Well, hello. My name is Simone. I am the founder of the We Are Power community, and you are very, very welcome at our monthly webinar. And this month's webinar is all powered by Boohoo Group and Barclays. And thank you so much for all of you watching on LinkedIn, on Twitter /X, and YouTube, or whether you're catching up. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be talking about one of our favourite topics, a topic that we come back to time and time again because it is so important and integral to everything that we do, which is all about mentoring. Mentoring being you being the best version of yourselves, you really maximizing our mentoring. And today we want to look at providing some of the insights and guidance for you, our community, who are looking as to how they not only implement mentoring programs, but how they really maximize, how they effectively measure that ROI, that return on investment, and really ensure that they're getting that buy-in for the long time. Nobody wants like quick fix initiatives and campaigns. They want things that will really kind of add value to your team and your talent. So we're all about providing sort of top tips, takeaways, actionable insights that you can take with you, whether it be for your personal kind of opportunity or whether it's taken back into your work. That's what we want today's webinar to be all about. And I've got a brilliant panel of guests today, a panel that are absolutely passionate about mentoring, passionate about talent, passionate about people, and want to help us to take us through today about how we really evaluate and look at the value of mentoring in our workplace. So would love you today to join in the conversation. So on the side, you should see a comments box. Please pop in. We'd love to know where you are. Where are you in the world today? Where are you in the world? Is it raining? It's not raining here. It's fabulous in Liverpool today. Practically tropical, kind of. But yeah, tell us where you are from, tell us who you're working for, and what you hope to get from today. And please do ask us any questions, because we want this to be interactive. We want to get some of your insight as well. So without further ado, let me invite our wonderful panel to say a quick hello and give us a bit of an overview. We've got Asba, Kirsten and Claire. Kirsten, can I come to you first?
You can. My name is Kirsten Bradley. I'm the Senior Manager for Service and Body Repair for Tesla for the UK and Ireland. So basically I help customers who've had a new car delivered. Anything that happens after that kind of sits with me and my team. I've been with Tesla for 6.5 years and have been in the mentor program at Tesla since its inception, actually.
So important, isn't it? So important. I love when I hear about these amazing programs within organisations. Asper, next to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mon. Hi, everyone. I'm Asper Malak. I'm Head of People Relations at Boo.com. I've been with Boo.com, which is an e-commerce fashion business, for about 4 years now. And I was part of the steering group that launched the formal mentoring programme here.
Brilliant. Thank you, Asper. Thanks for joining us. Last but not least, Claire, welcome to the programme. And congratulations, you were on our shortlist for the Northern Powerwoman Awards this year, aren't you? Look at you blushing.
It made me all embarrassed. Thanks for that. Thank you very much. So yes, hello, my name's Claire Bailey. So I've worked at Barclays for over 10 years, with my current role being as an infrastructure product manager. I love my role. It's a nice blend of relaxed chats with our internal business areas about what they want, then really super geeky technical conversations about how we're going to implement it. I'd say that I've probably always been interested in supporting other people to grow. I get a real kick out of watching others achieve things that they hadn't really dreamed were possible. But for me, my interest in mentorship didn't really develop until 2021, when I returned from extended maternity leave. I had 2 years out of the business with 3 kids in 18 months. And it was, I think, focusing my passions on mentorship really helped me transition back into the workplace. For me, doing something that I love meant that I wasn't quite feel so guilty about leaving all those little ones at home.
3 in 18 months. Wow, there's a whole mentoring program there, Claire, that's for sure.
Nobody plans for twins.
Oh, wow, absolutely. Buy one, get one free. There you go.
Yes.
Well, this time now, we always talk about mentoring being about you being the best version of you, and the space where you can give and gain that knowledge and understanding. And we love the mentoring programs that we've run over the years. We've got one at the moment, which is kicking off for the shortlist of our Northern Power Women Awards shortlist. Everyone on the shortlist gets a mentor this year, should they choose to want one as well. And again, it's never too late. It's never too late. We had one of our shortlist and commended winners last year, Professor Diana from Bradford University. She opted in for the mentoring as well. You know, an octogenarian is all I'm going to say. And all she was saying was like, actually, it's never ever, you know, you can always keep learning. There's always something that you can gain. And I think that's why we're all here today. And thank you for, again, all of you joining. Julie Robinson, I can see, is joining us, a fellow shortlister there as well. Welcome to today's webinar as well. So Asper, let's talk about your program. You've talked about being there at the start. You have this internal mentoring program. What are the key things and that key impact that you've noticed from specifically the individuals that have engaged and got involved with the program at Boohoo?
Thanks, Simone. So we launched our mentoring program about 3 years ago, and we do have a succession planning program where we look at our future talent pipe. So we try to identify people who are ready for the next step. Mentoring was a part of that strategy. So it was usually targeted to those who we would define as high potential or ready for the next step. But it's now wider, so we tend to do it on a voluntary basis. So if you feel that you need mentoring, we've widened it and we allow you to volunteer for that program. I think mentoring is such a special relationship because when we do mentoring, we do it outside of the function. So you're not building technical skills. It's really important that it's the personal skills that you really build in mentoring. And really, I think the biggest benefit and outcome, if you get it right, is ensuring that you're developing the individual to what they want. So the mentee really defines when they want to meet, what development needs they have right at the beginning of the mentoring relationship. And, you know, the benefits are not always, I want to progress, because we know, you know, people have been newly placed into role. They might just want to get familiar and get the feet under the table, get comfortable with maybe managing a new team, etc. So everyone will have their own development needs. So the benefits and outcomes will change and will need to be constantly reviewed through that mentoring program. So I think one of the key benefits that I've really seen is people really growing confidence, is when my mentees say things like, I've applied this practice that I've learned or I've found through the mentoring, and this was the outcome for it, and this is how it made me feel. It made me feel more confident. It allowed me to network better. And I think those are the real benefits to both the mentor and the mentee, because, you know, you really want to know that you're supporting them grow and flourish. And I think that's also why it's so key to do it outside of your function, because where your manager will support you with your technical skills, they will give you the personal training that you need. I actually feel that the mentoring relationship is a little bit different, because you can feel a little bit more, I think, psychologically safe in that relationship, because that person who is your mentor is really a key decision maker for your progression. So you're able to open up and I think be a little bit more vulnerable in that relationship as well as a mentee. I think those are the main benefits of a good mentoring program.
And I think it's, you know, what you talk about is about the mentee, you know, it's having that autonomy, if you like, to set up the not the rules, but the kind of agreement. It's like that agreement, you know, we've all got mentoring programs, but I think it's how that individual pair, isn't it, kind of approach it. Because for some people it's like, oh yeah, we want them to be virtual, or it needs to be at this time, or actually could we do it in this way? It's got to work. It's absolutely a two-way piece, isn't it? And I think it's interesting how mentoring programs I've seen at internal organizations, big organizations like yourselves, have really evolved over the years and have really taken that in mind. It's not just the one way of doing it. And Kirsten, I know mentoring is a massive passion for you. I definitely think it's in your blood, isn't it? What are some of the key things that you've looked at over the evolution of the Tesla mentoring program, and what are the key things that you're considering when you're kind of developing and growing the programs that you run?
I think it's interesting because I remember working for a previous organisation where we wanted to set up a mentoring programme, and there was very much a question of, well, what's in it for us and how do we measure that? So looking at KPIs and key performance indicators as far as a mentor programme, a lot of organisations really want to look at what the organisational impact is. So how will we directly correlate performance of the business to a mentorship program, which would be lovely if it was that straightforward, but actually it's a little bit more complicated than that. What we have to be is a bit more smart around the fact that it will have impacts that we can measure, but all of those add up to the better performance. So when you're looking at individual development, so you look at how people are, the turnover rates of the organisation. So the attrition rates reducing as a direct response to the mentorship that you're doing with your mentees? Is their length of service particularly longer than those that haven't been through the mentorship programs? Internal mobility, are we seeing these people being promoted? They're more of the types of things that I think are easier to measure. A lot of things that you have to do are around doing surveys and things like that. So it's qualitative feedback, which sometimes organisations aren't as strong with. The one thing I love about Tesla and the approach that we've taken is that actually we know that mentorship is a great thing to do. So what we're not asking the business to do is to explain what's in it for us and what will we get back from it. We know we'll get something back from it. So the things that we looked at when we set up this program was to look at how many participants we could get across each area. This is for the whole of EMEA, so the whole of Europe and the Middle East and Africa. So looking at how many participants we could get to engage in it, what the satisfaction and engagement of those individuals was after the mentorship or throughout the mentorship programs, the length of time they were in the mentee and mentor relationships, and then the quality and the effectiveness of those. So really identifying how they found those relationships. Did they benefit from them? What new skills did they achieve? Did they get a promotion? All of those types of things. So much more people-led rather than the bottom line, I suppose.
I definitely think that's where mentoring has changed over the years. I think there was a kind of a one size to run it, wasn't it? Do you think way back when, do you say it was 6 years ago? And I know you've been 6 years in the business, but you were at the inception of the program. It's different, wasn't it?
Well, the previous organisation I worked for, it was very different for them, because although the business was very people centric, very similar to Tesla in its kind of its outlook and people approach, they still wanted to be able to find a very kind of correlated way to measure it, and it's not that simple. And they tried really hard, and I remember working with the team that were trying to measure it, and they really struggled. But actually we then just put it into the employee engagement surveys, and it then had a route for people who'd been down a mentorship program. It had people, and then anybody who hadn't went down the other route, and they had an extra set of questions. And then what we could do is we could then measure a little bit more carefully if the overall engagement and satisfaction of an employee who'd been down a mentorship route differed from that of somebody that didn't. And that's how we did it with them. To be fair, at Tesla, we're doing it very much more from the feedback of the mentees, and then us being able to monitor their progress as they develop and move forward, really. Which is very different to how we were back in the day with data.
Yeah, it is. And I think there's that bit, isn't it? It's that people-centered approach to it, isn't it? And we talk about technology and data, and Claire, I know over at Barclays Tech, over at Rabra Call, and, I know tech is your world, and I know tech is a useful tool when actually looking at that impact, like, Kirsten's just talking about. But how can we use tech for good to really facilitate and measure that success of programs?
Yeah, I'm definitely a tech advocate, and it really does play that pivotal role in both the facilitation and then also supporting coordinators to measure the success of their endeavours. If we just look at video conferencing, enabling those face-to-face interactions, breaking down those geographical barriers, And why not have conversations which challenge your assumptions, but from the comfort of your own home? I think as well, things like messaging apps for quick communication, allowing ad hoc conversations beyond your scheduled meet times can be really valuable when seeking that, time sensitive advice in the moment. Likewise, integrating feedback and evaluation tools has multiple levels of effectiveness, allowing mentees to feedback on their mentoring experience, recording satisfaction levels with their mentor match, even helping them to help us, suggesting areas of improvement, even recommending and scoring their experience. I think you spoke before as well about, surveys, gathering feedback from all participants on all aspects, program structure, content relevance, and collating that data centrally using tools to look for trends and potential gaps. Gathering data ultimately not only makes you measurable, but also allows you to make data-driven decisions on how you can then be more impactful in the future. So yeah, definitely technology is the enabler here.
It is, and it is that innovation factor, isn't it? I think you look at, some of the stats and the data, and you can go, oh my gosh, by just doing one little thing here, it could shift something over here. So it's an informer, isn't it? It's got to inform what and how. And so back to you, Kirsten, we talk just on the measurement vibe, if you like, and how can we talk about this people-led, and I feel like that's where I've seen the massive change over the decades since I've been involved in mentor matching. When I started, it was very much, it's always the cross sector. You talk about out of function as well, but I feel like there's something in, I don't think, to be honest, you could ever have too many mentors, if you like. I feel like be part of an internal program, be part of other opportunities external. It could be interest groups that you're part of, or community, or cross sector, or organizations like ourselves that kind of want to match sort of out of sector, not only just out of function. But we talk about measuring the impact from the progress that individuals have. I know I get lots of anecdotal things from individuals who've been part of various mentoring, whether it's our speed date mentoring, on speed networking, or the more formal programs that we do. Some of that anecdotal stuff is kind of gold dust and helps, like Claire says, sort of to innovate. But how are organizations, I know you're sort of collecting via sort of surveys, but how can we encourage those mentees to sort of take ownership of their own future and high five their own personal progress with these mentor programs?
Yeah, and I think this is a really interesting one that I think in the past we haven't always considered, is that we need to train people. We need to train the mentor on the approach that we want to take as an organisation, and what mentoring means to us, and what we hope that it will mean to them as they mentor their mentees. Equally with a mentee, it's about giving them a level of training for them to understand what a mentorship program is and what it's not. A mentorship program is really there to help people to work through things that they want to work through, to be able to develop and grow. We were talking about technology earlier, actually. I thought it was interesting. My current mentee, it's based in Australia, so we do our sessions really early in the morning, which is quite late in the evening, in the afternoon to evening for her. But for her, it was very much around looking at what she wanted to achieve. And then we could then align on what the most important things were for us to focus on. Because there's so many false triggers when you're mentoring somebody of the types of things that they want to focus on. But really, the core fundamentals, you've probably got 2 or 3 things that you really need to hone in on. Would you know how to do that if you weren't an experienced mentor? Probably not. So I do think that the training and the education of people as to what mentorship is and what it isn't, it's not coaching. It's got a number of coaching elements if you understand how to coach, but mentoring is much more about guidance and nurture than coaching is, which is finding your own answers, really.
And I think you talked about coaching. We also bring often into this conversation sponsorship as well, sort of the different sort of tracks or the different routes you can get into. Because I think fundamentally people want to help and support others, right? Most people here, I know I've asked all of you at times, could you be a part of this? Would you join this? And often they are of those outside communications on WhatsApp or whatever it may be, because I know that you are willing to do this. But there's something I want to come back to, the training bit, and Julie's got a question here about what training do you suggest for staff mentors. But I know one of the things we always encourage, that I don't think it's ever too early to start mentoring, but and equally I have people come to me who are very, very experienced, but because their career has been so sort of full on and fast track, or not fast track, just overwhelming, they've not actually had the chance to do it. So even though they might be of a sort of a director or a C-suite, chief exec, or board level, they may never have done it formally, and there's always that sense of, gosh, do I know how to do it? And I think there's something that needs to sort of, what is it that is the best training? That's sort of Julie's question. What is the training that does really help support mentors of any level, whether it be someone right at the top, whether it be somebody who's only a few years out of education who wants to sort of give back and be that relatable? What do you think, what have you seen, Kirsten, that is the best sort of demonstration of sort of training for mentors that's not too onerous as well?
Yeah, I think it can be as basic as a really kind of simple toolkit. So it can be things like a mentor agreement, having the mentor agreement so that you both understand what that relationship is, that it's confidential, because that's really important to people. Although my mentee is in Australia, I do know people she works with, because we still work in the same organisation. There has to be that trust to be open and honest. And then I think giving people some of the tools as to, it can be some of the basic coaching tools, like you can have the 4 boxes and getting people to fill in, kind of doing a SWOT analysis, those types of things that are basics, that are conversation starters right at the very beginning, so that you know where they see their development areas and where they want to focus. Sometimes they don't even know where to focus. So actually giving people some basic fundamental training on basic coaching. So how to ask open questions, ask the 5 whys, all of those things are really, really important to just getting that relationship going. Once it's going, it's fine. You'll just chat. But it's about building the fundamental building blocks of what you want to set out to achieve, I suppose.
It could be breeze blocks. It's all good. It's all
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Claire, what about you? Any side hacks?
Yeah, no, I would say as well, though, that there's nothing better than your own lived experience as well. So actually being a mentee yourself really gives you that insight into what you could then provide as a mentor. And so I would definitely encourage anybody who's a little bit, because the mentoring experience is as unique as you are. So you could go and get a mentor to actually work on how to be a better mentor yourself. So it doesn't have to necessarily be in that traditional, career advancement or whatever field.
You've given me my tote bag. We always look for a tote bag quote, and I love that. It's the experience is as unique as you are. There we go. That's on this year's T-shirt and tote bag collective. As for anything that you've picked up along the way, or you've seen, that you're like, actually, that was a really good way to sort of give a quick coaching as to how to mentor, because like you say, everyone, if this is a unique experience, which it ought to be, because you're bringing 2 humans together, or it could be even a peer group where you bring that peer mentoring together. There's no one size fits all. You've got to kind of find that yourself. But anything that you've seen that you think, oh gosh, that was such a good top tip that I've taken away and taken as my own.
Yeah. I think because I think my understanding of mentoring is that it's just such a delicate, important relationship, because essentially you're helping someone with to grow quite a personal attribute. So whether that's influencing skills, networking skills, and that's quite personal to that person. So I think that, on our programs, we do formal training. We do coaching and mentoring apprenticeships, and we do in-house training as well, because we know that the approach is so important. We don't want to dictate, we want to support, we want to lead, and we want mentees to take responsibility of what they want to get out of the mentoring relationship. So they are largely in control of defining that. So I think some type of training before you go into as a mentor is really quite crucial, and I've really largely benefited from it. And I don't think I would have recognised that until I'd done it and applied it to my mentoring relationships. So yeah.
And we talk about the impact that it has. You know, I know one post I saw once, and it was I just happened to see it on LinkedIn, and it was someone who'd been to one of our, like, we do these monthly speed networking events. It's all about building social capital and relationships around people at the start of early careers. And I just saw this one young woman, and she'd posted, "Oh my gosh, it all started with a 1 hour lunchtime conversation. I wasn't sure where it was going to go, but I've just got my first promotion." And it was, for me, I had like a lot of FOMO, because like, gosh, how did I not know that went on? But it's when you see that high-fiving, if you like, high-fiving of that achievement. What are some of the things that you've seen, Asper, sort of within Boohoo, the impact on those individuals that you know, that mentoring has brought? I think we talk about confidence a lot, and how we can see that. What else have you sort of seen tangibly? Because you have quite quite a good bulk of young talent, have you, at Boohoo?
Absolutely. So I think some of the best benefits that I've personally seen as a mentor are things like just increased confidence, both, you know, at work and at home. Taking the influencing skills to personal related issues as well as work related issues, because, you know, I think that's so important that we recognise that, you know, people who have development needs, they might be behavioural development needs as well, that may impact their personal life, and that's why it's so important to ensure that it's that you mentor delicately. So yeah, I think those are the biggest benefits, and then you naturally get the how do I take my next step? What's you know, I really want to progress now, and this is the timescale that I've given to myself. How do I influence my manager to recognise that I'm ready for that? And then, you know, you'll get your technical as well. You'll get your technical development needs. Like, I've not really been involved too much in strategy, but I really want to pick up that skill. And as a mentor, it's okay to provide some of the tools that you've used in your experience and that has helped you to build strategy. And I think, look, you know, because it's such a close personal relationship that you build over time as well, when mentors start to feel quite comfortable, and mentees and quite receptive to information, and obviously you have your confidentiality discussion as well at the beginning, there's a lot of storytelling about how you've got to where you've got to, and you know, the skills and the personal behaviours, and how you've grown, and who's mentored you in the past, and what benefits that's offered you. And I always think that really adds value to the mentee as well. So
I think that's it. I think it's that storytelling, and I think this coming to you, Claire, is, you know, you talked about the lived experience earlier. You know, what some of those stories, I think you can anonymously and anecdotally pass some of that information and guidance on, can't you? Because you just think, oh my gosh, that was so simple. I'm going to put that in my toolkit over here. But what are some of the great, you know, success stories that you've experienced with your world of mentoring?
Okay, so I'd like to tell you about a little initiative I've been involved in within Barclays. So, like many other areas, my department was fully aware of the benefits that mentorship could bring. You know, helping colleagues to achieve their goals, supporting career growth, exposure to new and different perspectives, just being a few. However, after an internal review, our mentorship processes, they were manual, they were tedious, and basically just not sustainable in the long term. So we decided to do something about it. So for the last 2 years, I've had the pleasure, and I really mean it's been a pleasure, to lead a team of early career colleagues in a completely side of desk activity to reorganise the way that mentoring was managed. So we took inspiration from old school dating websites, yes, think Match.com, plenty of fish, and we're going to turn that concept on its head, and we developed an application that facilitated that find and mentor match process. I think in a post-pandemic world, we kind of wanted to break down those geographical borders, facilitating connections globally and encouraging colleagues to make the most of to make connections with people that they ordinarily wouldn't be able to. Initially, we gained traction within our own area, but good news travels fast. Colleagues using the tool as individuals wanted to then capitalise on the concept and started to curate mentorship programmes using the app to create efficiencies in the matchmaking process. So we have lots of back-end stats that allow coordinators to understand their reach and measure the number of matches generated from all of their efforts. Today, we've supported large-scale campus initiatives throughout the UK to raise awareness of the benefits that mentorship can bring and support colleagues to become closer to their global counterparts. Likewise, we've helped small-scale work streams with the goal to promote upskilling and internal mobility. For us, our stats, they've gone from strength to strength. To date, we've had over 6,000 unique visitors to the site. 850 mentors have signed up. We've got, I think it's 1,200 mentees, which has generated 1,600 match requests. For me, we often find that people know what mentoring is, but actually presenting the opportunity in an easy access format is what really encourages them to take part. So
Amazing.
yeah, for us, it's been a major success, and I personally feel that all of those matches, was it 1,600? I feel like a little bit of a part of all of those 1,600 matches. It's lovely.
You have created Tinder for mentoring, which has always been my dream, honestly. From day one, that is what I've always wanted to be able to have, is that we've created this amazing community of role models across the world now, if you like. There's, our northerners get everywhere, but there's always that passion about giving back, paying forward. And when we built our technology platform, that was we wanted at the heart of it was to be able to create that access. And equally, it's that bit, once you've been a mentor, once you've had a mentor, is then you become a mentor. And I think this, for me, it was about how you create that cascade. So it's amazing that you've done that, and the fact that you've done it from side of desk as well, it's fantastic. It's brilliant. I want one of those. Powered by Kirsten. We talk about I've come across people who are, like I said earlier, who've been at the top of their career and never really got round to doing it, and even have that sort of, dare I say it, I hate the phrase at times, imposter syndrome. It can get in our way. But what can we do, and how can we encourage more leaders and middle managers and everyone in between to become mentors and really engage in mentoring programs? I think to the point that it has changed over the years.
I think it's a tricky one, because I think people have a fear of the unknown. So when you don't really understand what it entails, it can be really hard to do that with people who are not necessarily on board with it. But I think the main thing that I always encourage people to do is try and be on the other side of it, because I've been a mentee. And I've been a mentor. Actually, I know Claire touched on a little bit earlier, it helps us to really understand the benefits of mentorship by being on the receiving end of it. And you realise that actually that imposter syndrome soon disappears, because you realise that the person that's mentoring you, they might have a load of wealth and experience that is really useful to you, but equally there's things that you can bring to them as well. And actually, they're not teaching you something magical and that nobody else knows the answer to. They're just helping you to really kind of take away a lot of the noise, to kind of forge a path and move forward with something that, when you remove a lot of that noise, is probably relatively straightforward. But our imposter syndrome and our mind talk sometimes talks us out of that. So the biggest piece of advice I would give for anybody, if they want to be a mentor, is go and be a mentee, get on the other side of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I go back to our Professor Diana last year, it's never, you can never, ever, it's never too late to get a mentee, to be a mentee. Equally, I always think from the other side, it's never too early to get your first mentor. And I think, one of the, sometimes a challenge can be both within organizations, also in cross-sector organizations or independent, is that it's getting finding the mentors or getting the mentors to sort of lean in to ask for help. Oh no, I don't want to bother them. They're too busy. I don't think I need any help. I think I'm fine. How do we really ensure that we get our mentees in and we ensure they're actively engaged and motivated, so they don't feel as though they're bothering people and they're there to maximize out of it? How have you won with that?
I think very similar to what Claire's done in her organisation, where we do where the mentoring programme is voluntary, obviously, and then we do some mentor matching sessions where people will complete, both mentors and mentees will complete a couple of set questions, and then that's the dating profile, right? That's the mentoring profile, and that will enable them to make the right decision. So the mentees will make a decision on who they think the right mentor is, given their profile, their skills, and how they think they can support. And the mentees will obviously also take into account, they'll have already given some thought to what their mentoring needs are beforehand, because they would have been asked to have completed that on the form. So yeah, they're able to find their own mentor through that process, and I think that's key to ensuring that they're engaged and motivated, because they've gone and found someone themselves through the programme, and they understand their skills and capabilities, and then in terms of the process, keeping them engaged and motivated, I think the mentor contract is absolutely crucial. So the mentee should really define how regularly they want to meet and what their development needs are. And that, I think, that the responsibility is that the mentor review that every couple of sessions, because the development needs can change. And you really want that to be mentee-led. And I think after a couple of months, every quarter, a full review of the mentoring contract is really crucial as well. Is this relationship still working? What development needs have we already met? What do you envisage you might need in the future? Can really keep people quite engaged, because there's a goal that you're trying to achieve and work towards in terms of your personal development. I think what I've also found really key to keep mentees actively engaged through every session is a little bit of a review at the end of the mentoring session. So what have we discussed during this mentoring session? Can we agree what you would like to discuss at the next session? And that will keep them actively engaged. So a few strategies there.
And I think this is all lending itself to almost not over-engineering things. I think sometimes people, whether there be a micro business like ourselves or, sort of big whoppers like yourselves, is like, sometimes people think it's too difficult. It's too, when actually is it an element of keep it simple? Is that, you've just talked about is keeping let's set some objectives, or let's put it's not like going to a meeting and then not having any outputs from it. It's the same kind of thing. It's that what's the adage, if you don't go to a meeting without an agenda, because if you don't have an agenda, you're only going to achieve what's on it. It's that same thing. I'm sure I'm making these things up. I'm going on for long, but if you've got any questions out there before we go into our last question or so with our fabulous panelists, then please do drop it in the chat. And obviously we always want to keep the conversation going already, ongoing. Claire, just coming back to you, as you are now obviously the I've appointed you, queen of technology here, but there's so much conversation around technology constantly. There's so much conversation around AI and everything else that I don't even understand or even know exists yet. But how can we use that? Again, it's going back to the tech for good. How can we use those advancements to really make more space for mentorship going forward and helping with that impact?
So I think we've already kind of talked about breaking down those geographical barriers and kind of using online platforms to support your mentorship journey. But that's kind of like before once you've found your match, I suppose you also have to think about, how was that initial match created? As you say, the use of machine learning and AI-based matching algorithms will not only remove the effort out of finding commonality, but could also potentially create matches based on data points that would otherwise be overlooked. I also love the idea of exploring the use of virtual reality and augmented reality. It's really on trend at the moment, especially with the release of the Apple Vision Pro. But But just think, in the future, you could have a fully immersive session with your mentor, replaying real world scenarios and having potentially like hands-on learning experience in skills development, you know, and benefiting from that side-by-side experience. But one of you's in Australia and the other one's in the US. I think for me, it's about thinking outside of the box, you know, maybe capitalizing on recent advancements and then applying them to a new setting so that, you know, you can then achieve something that you might not have done before.
Wow, that's blown my mind, that. My goodness, replaying those real world situations.
Yeah.
Wowzers. Oh, God. Talking into real world, Kirsten, how has you being so sort of participative in mentoring impact? Thank you. I'm getting involved, shall I say, in mentoring and all, whether it be mentee or mentoring. How has that sort of shaped your personal career?
It would be very fair to say that I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for the mentors that I had over the years. I had a mentor in an organisation I worked for who was actually a HR director, and she very much helped me to focus and kind of channel my attentions, but equally acted as a challenger as well. So if it was something that I said I wanted to do, but she could see that I really wasn't really making any ground on it, she would call me out on it and say, is it really that important? Because if it isn't, then let's bin that and let's move on to something that you really do want to do. And then following that, I had a chap who was an external consultant, actually, a training and mentoring consultant who worked for our organisation for a period of time, who I still speak to now, who was amazing, again, at really pushing me and driving me to challenge myself. Because absolutely, I am the queen of imposter syndrome at times. I can really get in my own head. So having those people to drive and challenge me really helped. And then just to see the small things that you can do to help others really does kind of give you a return on the efforts that you're putting in, because people are really eager to want to develop and learn and get on. And if you can just do the tiniest thing that will help them, then it's really rewarding.
It is, and I think that the listening has got such a huge part to play, hasn't it? I think is that often it's easy to kind of jump in, especially those of us all on here that are all very passionate about talent and other humans, and is that the hardest thing to do, is to listen? I can see you all going, yes.
Do you know, I think until you really hone your coaching skills, it can be really hard, because one of the first things you learn when you get taught about how to coach is how to allow for silence and for thinking time and listening time. Because a lot of the time what we try and do is we try and answer for somebody because we think that they don't have the answer, but that's not true. You just haven't given them time to process. I'm a reflector, so if you ask me a question, I really need to think about it, and I need to think about a few different things while I'm thinking about it too. If I was a bit more of a pragmatist, then maybe I'd give you a straight away answer, but I'm not going to do. So tailoring it to each individual. I work on the 80-20 rule, which is 80% of them talking, 20% me talking. And if you can try and do that and sit on your hands and gag yourself sometimes, then it can be really effective. Because they know the answer
right now, aren't you? You are coaching me right now. I'm sure you are.
They do know the answer. 9 times out of 10, they know the answer. They just want you to tell them, and I'm not willing to do that a lot of the time. I want them to tell me.
It's almost that you go along. There's a padlock over here, isn't it? And there's a set of keys, and it's just picking that right key. Gosh, that sounds very, very thoughtful.
Well, sometimes there is a blind spot, and sometimes you've got to point that out. But 9 times out of 10, they know.
And top tips, what's the one thing you would say, sort of as a final question to all, as to what you would do as your kind of one thing that you could take away? So whether you're Julie here who's watching, who's looking to set up a new program, whether it's you're someone who is, trying to set up maybe a cross sector, or whether it's within your business, what would be the thing that you would say this is the thing that, do this because this will really help you with that impact factor? Oh, that's a tough question, isn't it? Your one takeaway from today. Asba, go on, I'm going to come to you. You look prepared.
I really wasn't Simone for that answer. I'm so sorry. Would you mind going to someone else and I will come back?
I will, absolutely.
Thank
Claire,
you.
do you hate me for that now, asking?
Absolutely. How dare you?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think for me, maybe think outside the box. Okay. But and then there's kind of like a transverse thing there as well. It says just because somebody wants something to, just because you've tried something once and failed doesn't mean that it won't work again in the future. So it's about kind of taking, and I love taking those tried and tested methods. Perhaps it hasn't quite worked in previously. Think outside the box. How can we change this and modify this in order to be able to get something better out of it, and then kind of run with that, you know? And there's no such thing as failure. It's just more learning opportunities.
Oh, I love that. Another tote bag. Kirsten.
I'd follow on from what Claire was saying, actually, in as much as the one thing that you will learn about running any mentorship program is that it needs to be continually refreshed, because otherwise it becomes stagnant and the individuals don't engage as much as they used to, particularly if you don't provide them with the outcomes of the successes. So the key thing is to celebrate all of the successes, throw it at people at every given opportunity, but continually circle back. Identify what you're doing well, really kind of push that. Anything that you think you could do better, give it a bit of a shake. Find something slightly different. Try something a bit different. But you're going to have to continually keep doing that, because otherwise it will die a death if you're not careful.
It just stagnates, doesn't it? And Asba.
Yeah. I think my advice is for mentees who are a little bit reluctant about reaching out to those mentors because they feel that the time's so valuable, is we've all had mentors, we've all had people who've taken us on the journey to where we are right now. And actually, just I think keep in the back of your mind that mentor is going to feel so good after your mentoring session. They are going to get just as much out of that session as you are. So just grab your mentors, the ones that are right for you.
Go do it.
Yeah, go
do it. Go grab them. Go rugby tackle them. Think outside the box. Keep circling back. I love that. Keep circling back. And of course, just remember, every mentoring relationship is as unique as you are. So I think for me, the takeaways from today as well is that not over-engineering things. It's really honing that. I love that, Claire, that if it didn't work once, it doesn't mean it's not going to work the next time again. And actually swap information. Be a mentee and learn. That will help you be a better mentor or help you construct or create or grow something within your own organization. Thank you so much to Asba, to Claire, to Kirsten. Thank you to all of you to watching today. Thank you so much for joining us. Please keep the conversation going on all of our socials at North Power Women on Twitter and Northern Power Women and all the others, and use the conversation #WeArePower. It's right behind me if you can see it, and stay connected with everything that we're doing on our digital hub. We haven't quite got yet Tinder for mentoring, but it's coming, Claire, isn't it? It's coming. WeArePower.net. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thank you.